My name is Miguel Ibarra. I played outside mid for Minnesota United, and I have a reputation on the team for having a lot of cleats. I don't think I have a lot, but I'll show you guys. Come on.
Going at him.
Hey! Now Ibarra, Miguel Ibarra, Takata, tries a little back here, Ibarra!
Great little sequence, nice touch. Taka, I know Taka's playing back in front of the players, and somehow it gets through, finds Ibarra, and quickly gets to the right from there.
On the ground, Walker, redirect, goal!
You know, I came in here and I was unknown, and then I came in and I kind of got close to a lot of fans. They liked my speed, they wanted me back and stuff like that, so the fans show a lot of support to the team, so I kind of like that. And just at the end of the season, how all the fans got there and how we celebrated with the fans, like, got me motivated to come back this season and start again.
By Ibarra! Goal! Miguel Ibarra makes it 3-1!
What great combination play. What great combination play.
What are you looking forward to most this year?
I just think this year, for me, just win the championship.
With the turn. Campos first touching his space. Ibarra, Sierra.
Hey everybody, welcome to United Fans. Hope you enjoyed that quick video that we whipped up as a tribute to Miguel Ibarra. This week we just got one thing on the menu, which is talking about, well, that horrendous loss to Fort Lauderdale.
We gotta do it, guys.
We really do. A few thoughts about the season and then a few thoughts about Miguel Ibarra. So let's just get right to it, Kyle.
Okay. The first thing we want to talk about this game was the attacking strategy, because we really saw a different Minnesota United coming out here. And what people had complained about in the past, I think maybe Manny just said, well, screw you guys, I will show you what happens. And they lost. But the team was really throwing a lot of players forward. There were a lot of times where there were 6 people in attack notch, and it always seemed to fall just short. Even though 2 goals isn't bad, a penalty and a header is where they came off of. What's your take on the strategy in general and what you saw at the game since you were in attendance this week?
We were in complete control, you know. The early goal went in for Fort Lauderdale, but between that and I'd say even the end of the game, even those 2 goals that Fort Lauderdale scored later were counterattacks that we kind of missed the ball on. There were little mistakes. Unfortunately, those little mistakes turned into huge goals. Whereas Fort Lauderdale's little mistakes kept getting lucky and or getting saved by Josh Ford, who made some huge saves for their team. So we kept throwing attack after attack after attack, and they all just fizzled out, or like I said before, they got saved by Josh Ford in magnificent fashion. But again, like you said, I mean, a lot of criticism about basically Minnesota United gets the lead and then they sit back. That didn't happen this game. You saw the substitutions were all early attacking subs. So Manny just really changed it around. Unfortunately, what he didn't change was the 2 in defense, who were the older, slower players.
Yep, and that hurt us. A lot of the goals that we saw scored were very similar to what we've seen in the past. Balls over the top that were making it through, the people who were playing those balls in, whether those be from back over behind the halfway line, or a nice cross where all the players seemed to pull into the middle. The people sending the balls in were wide open, and they would end up finding somebody who would either strip the ball from our defenders or just be wide open to get a header in. And it was tough to see it, because these are 2 different strategies that the team has employed that both ended in a loss. And I think that kind of takes us to our next point, which is seeing that Manny did switch it up and it still didn't produce the results. We got to think about the fall season, because we are in 4th place.
Yeah.
that's the last spot to get into the playoffs. And from different perspectives, there's different goals for where we want to get this season. The playoffs is an absolute must. If we don't make the playoffs, it's a failure. It's not, well, it's soccer, things happen. To me, Notch, I think we have to make the playoffs. What do we need to do to just come into this fall season and really grab it?
Well, I think the first thing is spend some of that Ibarra money on getting a reinforcement or two. I think you and I have very differing perspectives on where that budget needs to go in terms of who we need to reinforce. I think, for one thing, we need to either rotate our defensive line and get some more, but we definitely need to get some more depth there. Ideally, do both. I'd like to see Brent Common playing more games, seeing how he, as a younger, faster defender, works in a game like the one against Fort Lauderdale, where they have always played this fast-flowing attack, counter-attacking, well, not counter-attacking, this game they played a counter-attacking style, usually it's just a fast-flowing style. You need some younger guys to counter that. You need someone who has slightly different set of skills than Diaz and Calvano, who, don't get me wrong, I rate them very highly, but we need something different. We need to be responding to teams the way they play. We can't play the same formation every game and expect it to work. It's not going to. We need to be able to react as well as play to our strengths. The other thing is, in this game, we saw that there was nobody who could really finish the ball. I just thought that there was so many problems. Ramirez had a good header at the end. There were some decent shots early in the game from guys like Davis, but at the end of the day, when there was that final move, nothing happened at the end. When the ball was in the box, it always kept giving away. So I think we need a better striker, a better forward. We've got great midfielders. That's one area. Just leave it. But defense and forward, we need new players in those areas that can do more.
Well, like Notch said, I have a slightly different take. A few of the things I do agree with him on are the fact that our midfield is strong. I really think that this midfield, with the players that we have, they should be able to compete in the NASL. There's no excuses. I think that's on Manny's shoulders, not Nick Rogers to go buy players. I think Manny needs to tell them that they need to step up the talents there. One thing I do disagree on is the forward. If we bring in and buy, with that Ibarra money, an expensive new forward, I personally think that's the wrong place to spend it. It's a flashy move. It'll get fans excited because it's an attacking player. But I think between Campos and Christian Ramirez, that's another position where the talent is there. They should be scoring. I put that one on Manny to motivate them. Like I've said a lot, I think Christian Ramirez should be getting more minutes. Campos has slowly been showing a little less and less each game, in my opinion. And I think it's already showing signs of him wearing down. It's the short spring season, guys. So I think Christian should come out and start, and we just got to get him a goal, get him a PK, get him on fire, and start scoring. He's been starting to put shots on goal, and some good shots. I think he's got it. Leave him alone. Let him score. And if by the end of the season we're not doing it, then that's time to make some cuts and moves. But where I do think the money should go, and I do think player moves need to happen, is in defense. Like you said, Diaz and Calvano are good players, but we need to have stronger backups and people who are pushing them for minutes. I don't think we have that at all right now. We need to spend some money in there. And that could even mean the wingbacks. Maybe not Davis, but I personally think that Kevin Venegas could be pushed up to midfield with how he's playing. And we can bring some of that extra depth into a player that maybe can play both one of the center back spots and a right back spot, and help Venegas move up to replace Ibarra with some of that speed. I really, really think that's where the money should go, Notch.
And this actually brings up our next point, which is we're going to talk about Miguel Ibarra and his legacy with our team, which is he's now been here, I think it's 3 or 4 years with our squad. He came in right after we won the soccer ball to the Minnesota Stars. He's gone from being a player who had a very inconsistent record, flashes of brilliance, but also flashes of kind of anonymity. He's gone from that to being essentially the team's first bona fide superstar.
Absolutely.
And it's really hard to kind of encapsulate just everything that he's done for us in just a few minutes, but let's try, Kyle.
I think he deserves it. We'll give it our best shot for Ibarra. To me, it's more emotional than maybe it would appear from someone on the outside that it should be. He's just another player who did well at a smaller team, is getting sold to a bigger team. It's this business of soccer. But I think he really meant a lot to this team from being that first superstar. He's not just another superstar on LA Galaxy, on Manchester United. he was our first big soccer superstar in Minneapolis area. I think that really had the fans latch onto him. That had me latch onto him. Really associate him with this team so much that when he did leave, it does leave an empty space on this team where it kind of changes how I look at the team. Not in a bad way, but in that it's more of just a soccer team now without that person at the head who was Miguel Ibarra for me.
I mean, I think there are some of those concerns within the team itself. But I think, I mean, to be honest, speak to your point, I think he's leaving on such a high note, though. I do fear that if he had stayed, particularly with the way that this season is going, he's not been called up to the Gold Cup squad, his star may have kind of stagnated a little bit. But instead, he got this really kind of high-pitch send-off. He got to score a penalty in his final game. He's getting this really high-profile transfer where he's essentially skipping a step in the kind of ladder of soccer by going straight to Liga MX without any MLS time at all. And I really hope he does well there, because it'll reflect well on us. It'll reflect well on the work that the coaching staff has done here with developing him from essentially an MLS reject into one of the biggest names in US soccer today. I think, to speak to your point with the emotional point, one of the other things about him was that he was such a quiet guy in terms of his kind of profile. He wasn't the loudest. He wasn't the most boisterous. When you were talking to him, he just quietly got the job done. And he was nice. He was personable. He was always humble. And that's something I always respected about him. Something we also need to remember, though, is that he and Ramirez essentially had the same profile until he was called up to the U.S. men's national team. And they were really a unit. So I do wonder a little bit about how Ramirez is going to play. And maybe
it's true.
The optimist in me says this is now his time to kind of really shine.
Take over that spot vacated.
I think so.
But yeah, those are some concerns that, Ramirez is already frustrated with the team a bit. You can tell by his minutes, and now his good friend left. Hopefully that's the pessimistic view of it.
I think so. I think he'll step up. One of the things that I've said in terms of replacing Miguel, you mentioned Kevin Venegas, moving him into the midfield somewhat to have some of that creativity. I also think Christian can have something of a center forward role, not quite being that kind of strike man. Leave Pablo in the box. Let him kind of stay there and kind of really work on only getting the ball and knocking it in. Instead, have Christian bring that creativity, get that hustle in. Those short bursts of speed right outside the box, kind of the physicality, and then taking some of those more audacious shots that we saw him take. Like his first goal last year was a really incredible shot, that bicycle kick. So between that and Pablo's ability to really be a target man, I think we've got a good replacement for Ibarra. I'm not afraid of replacing him on the field, I guess, in that sense.
Yep, that makes sense to me, and I'm hoping that my little ego stroking is that he wasn't called up to the Gold Cup, just like Bobby Wood, because they both moved clubs. So I think he would have been called up, they won't move clubs. That's what I'm going to tell myself.
Sure. I do hope he's called up again, so we do get to see him locally a bit more.
Yeah, tear up League MX for us. We do it. So, we went through a little review of this last game. We hope you learned something and have enjoyed listening to us throughout this spring season, even if we came out a little lower than we'd like to in the standings. There's always the fall season. It's not over yet. We'll get there. We did want to mention, too, that we are going to take a little break during this off-season. We're going to do a lot more filming. We're going to film some more sketches for you guys, work on some other video projects, and keep busy.
Yeah, I think our plan for the fall season with the podcast is to do it just a little bit more, kind of get it a little bit different than what we've done in the spring season, add some more videos of interviews, videos of different documentary projects that we've been working on for a while. Show off some of that stuff for you this coming fall. But signing off for a couple of weeks. Follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, subscribe on YouTube. You'll keep track. You'll see when the next video comes out. But until then, I'm Nach.
And I'm Kyle.
Have a good one, everybody.